Welcome to Test Room, your go-to hub for professional knowledge sharing. In this video, we will walk you through the process of executing Postman collections within a Jenkins job. This is a very crucial step in integrating automated tests into your CI/CD pipeline. This enables continuous testing and ensures a smooth and efficient delivery process. If you are new to Jenkins or want to deepen your understanding of CI/CD concepts such as what CI/CD is, the role of Jenkins in CI/CD, Jenkins master and slave architecture, configuring Jenkins with source code management, creating Jenkins job to clone the repository, and running the test. Check out my CI/CD explained playlist. The links will be provided in the description section. Let's quickly recap our previous lesson on running the Postman collection via the command line using Newman. The documentation for the Newman can be found under the GitHub repository. This is a link for the Newman GitHub repository. If you scroll down here under the description section, it says Newman is a command line collection runner for Postman. It allows you to effortlessly run and test a Postman collection directly from a command line. So Newman is a command line tool for executing the Postman collection. So in order to run any test from Jenkins, you need to have an command line tool. So we will be using Newman as a command line tool to run the Postman collections via Jenkins. Newman requires Node.js with the minimum version of 16. If you scroll down, it says here to run Newman, ensure that you have Node.js version 16 or greater. If you haven't installed Node.js on your machine, please follow this link to install Node.js. Once the Node.js installation is complete, you can go to the command line and type a command node -version. This will display you the version of Node.js that is installed on your machine. In my case, I have installed version 18.20.5. Once Node.js is installed, you can proceed to install Newman. You can install Newman using the command npm install -g Newman in your command prompt. You can come to command prompt and type that command. So -g flag here indicates you're installing the Newman globally. Once the installation is complete, you can come to the command prompt and check the version of the Newman that is installed on your machine. You can use the command Newman -version. It gives the Newman that is installed on your machine. In my case, I have installed 6.2.1. Now you are ready to run the Postman collection using Newman. For this session, I have prepared user management API collection with few test and collection variable to demonstrate the entire process. And if you see here under Postman, we have a collection user management API for CI, under which we have few methods, the post, get and opt. So what I will be doing, I will be running the few tests. The first test will be creating an user. So if you followed my earlier lesson, so if you come here, so I will be using the base URL. Base URL is a collection variable. If you go to collections and then if you edit the collection, under which if you come to the variables, you can find the variables here. So base URL points to https res.in. Okay, and this is a base URL. Then we will be calling the /API/user to create an user. So what I have done here, I have written a script that will automatically creates the name by random name. And if you see the if you go to request res.in and go to the documentation of post, and you see the body should contain the two parameters, the name and job. Here the name will be generated automatically using a script, and job I will be always hard coding it. Okay, if I come to my script part, under the prerequisite script, I have written a small function that will generate a random name using the first name and last name arrays. So it will be picking it will going through the array randomly and picking the name. Okay, so sometime it can give you John Smith, or it can also give you John and Johnson, John and Brown, and etc. etc. We really don't know. It will automatically calculate based on the random. It will generate a random index, and based on the index it will collect the first name and last name and combine the name and send back to us. Okay, that that value will be stored in a collection variable. If you see, this value will be stored in a collection variable by name, username for create. Okay, and if you can come to the collection variable again here, and there should be a variable by that name. Okay, currently it has a value Sophia Jackson, but while running the script it will change. Okay, it will be overwritten. Okay, that is my pre-script, and that is my pre-script. Under the post script, once the user is created successfully, it should return me 201. Okay, 201 is a code when a particular resource is gets created under the endpoint, and I will also be checking whether the created the record has a name that I have passed as part of the body. So here if you come, I will be comparing, I will be getting the collection variable by this particular variable and comparing with the whatever the data I get it as part of a JSON response. Under JSON response there will be a data, there will be a key called name which stores the value. Okay, let us go and run this now to test it manually. And if you see, so as a body, right, as a body it passed Emma Harris. Okay, as a body it has passed an Emma Harris with a job as leader, and by the response also we received the name as Emma Harris and leader. And if you go to the test, and we have created two tests for 201 and test the name. Okay, I can also, if you need, I can also put a log here. I think I should have already put that right under the script. So I'll be pre-script. So I'm logging that random name. If I go to the console log here, if I can go to the console log by clicking here, you can see the whatever the name I have created, right, as part of the random function is Emma Harris. Okay, I can also beautify this little bit by giving little bit more information under my pre-script. If I come to the pre-script, I can also write console log random name, the generated name is plus random name. Okay, let's save this and let execute. Yeah, this time it generated a name as David White, and also we are getting a response as a David White. That is what we are trying to compare as part of the post response. Okay, so there under the JSON you have a key called name, and under the key name the value will be stored. That is what I am basically retrieving it here and trying to compare. That is about the post. Then I also have an API. I am trying to get particular resource which is not existing. In that case you should get a value as 404 because that particular resource is not available. Let us try to run this. Resource 23 is not available, so the return code is 401. The resource could not be found. So I am trying another API, get result for an user 2. Instead of passing the user at 23 here, I will be passing the user value with an ID. If you come to parameter, ID is an user ID, and if you go to the collection variable, if you can go to the collection variable here, the ID is 2. Okay, the ID is 2. So I'm passing the ID as 2, and so if I run this, it basically gives me the detail of ID 2. Okay, so if I come to my script, I'll be verifying whether this particular API is executed successfully or not. because it will give me an response code of 200. Along with that, I will also be collecting the JSON body and trying to validate. I'm trying to validate the user ID, that is the number 2, that is what here, and also the user email. I think user email also should be a part of my variable. All right, user email is janetweaver at request response.in. Okay, that is what I am also getting it here. Okay, and option is basically tells you what are the options that are allowed for this particular endpoint. It can be get, it can be head, post, all the methods, but it is not coming as part of the body. Okay, here the body is the empty body has no content, but the header has a content, so we will be getting the header here. Okay, and validating this. Okay, let's try to execute this manually. And if you see, the body is basically nothing is there in the body. Okay, and if I go to an header, under the header there is an key called access control allow origin. No, sorry, the access control allow methods. Okay, this is a key and this has a value. So for this particular endpoint, right, it supports these methods: get, head, put, patch, post, delete, HTTP methods. So I am getting that value and comparing whether it has a string called get, it has a string called head, put, patch, and post, etc. Okay, this is how I am doing it. Okay, this is my user management API collection that I will be using it for integrating with Jenkins and running it via Newman. In order to run the Postman collections from Jenkins, we'll have to follow the following steps. First, you need to export the Postman collection and run it locally via the Newman. Okay, so once it is successful, then push this the collection into the GitHub repository. We will be creating a new GitHub repository and pushing the collection. And after that, we'll also make sure that the slave machine has got all the prerequisite installed. Okay, Jenkins slave machine should have the Node.js and Newman. In case if you're using any kind of the reporting the plugins, that also needs to be installed under the slave machines. Okay, after that, we'll have to create a Jenkins job that will clone the Postman collection from the GitHub repository and execute the test using the Newman. Now let us export this collection. So you can go to the collection and then 3 dots, under which there is something called export. This basically will export all the collection. Okay, like all the tests under this collection along with the collection variables. Okay, so let's start export. Use the version as v2.1, and this basically asks me where to store this. I have already created a folder called Postman Collection. I'll go and save this collection. When you are exporting the collection, it will be exported as JSON format. Let's go and save this. Let's go to the folder where this particular collection is saved. Then bring the command line there by typing command. Then you will have to use the Newman command line options to run the test. So Newman can run the Postman collection using the Newman run the path for the collection, example / sample collection.json. So you can also include some other parameters. For example, I think for example, if you are using, so if you are using an environment variable, so then you can pass the environment variable collection via the command line argument as -e. If you are using any kind of a data driven kind of test where your test involves data in the form of CSV or in JSON, then you can specify your data source via the -d operation. Okay, so in our case we are not using -e or -g because our tests are very plain test. We are not using any kind of environment user variables. We are just using the collection variables. In that case, we can just go and run the collection using Newman run with our path to our collection. Okay, And in case if you really want to generate a report, then you can also specify the argument -r and then the type of the report you want. If you specify a CLI, it will basically print a log on your command line itself. And if you want a JUnit kind of a report, then you can also give the comma JUnit. Okay, so what we can do, we can go and use this Newman run. You can come here, Newman run, and the collection name is, and I will also pass -r, and with you'll have to pass within a quote. Then you can specify CLI comma, then I will be using JUnit. I want to generate a JUnit based report. Then just enter. Test will get executed, and if you see, it says the iteration is 1. That means it executed the test one time and there were 4 requests. Okay, if you see, if you go to the Postman, there were 4 requests, 1 2 3 4, and then there were 8 test scripts. And I see, see if I can go to Postman under the scripts. If you see, and we have for everything we have 2, 1 2, here 3, here 4 5, here 6 7. Okay, 6 7. Yeah, so assertions are 7 and test scripts are 8. Okay, that is because somewhere I will be using not only the post script, I'll also be using the pre-script, that is I think under create user. Okay, there is also a pre-script. Okay, this is the one. Okay, so there are totally 8 scripts. Okay, and there are 7 assertions. Assertions are basically the post response, whatever we are basically comparing here, that is called as an assertion. Okay, the validation is called as an assertion here. Okay, and it also says that it took around 793 milliseconds, and it yeah, this is not needed actually. And if you can come to that particular folder, right, if you can go to that particular folder, under Newman there is a test report that is being generated, which is of type JUnit. Okay, so now we are ready, and now it is a time that we can push our code into Git repository. And before that, we need to create a Git repository under GitHub. Okay, let us go to GitHub and create a repository. In order to create a repository under GitHub, you need to have an account. I already have an account. If you don't have an account in GitHub, I have created a video that basically shows how to create a new user account under GitHub. So what I will be doing here, I am going and creating a new repository. For that, I will have to click on a new, and I will give a name as Postman Collection, or specifically I can also write as Jenkins Postman Collection. I will make it as a public repository. I will give a name as to run Jenkins, to run the Postman Collection using Jenkins. Then I will say go and create. My repository is created. First time the repository is empty, so you will have to clone the repository. I will be using SSH to clone the repository. In order to clone the repository, you need to have a you need to install the Git as a tool, Git for Windows as a tool, and I have done all these steps. You can also go and refer my video, how to set up an SSH key, how to clone, and how to push it. Okay, so what I will be doing, I will be going to the location where I have exported the collection. Here what I will do, I will bring up the git bash, then I will type git clone a space, then this command. So I can just copy this. I can go and copy this, or I can click here to copy it. Then I will paste it here. This has cloned, but the repository is empty. Then what I will do, I will just copy this collection and I paste it here. Then after that, I will have to go inside the folder Jenkins. Then if I go and type git status, it gives me the new file which is untracked. I'll go and add this file. Then I will again check git status. This is added, and I will use git commit -m for comment collection. Okay, then I will push. This will move the file from my local repository to GitHub repository. Once it is done, we can go and check here and refresh here. You see the file is been added. Okay. Now my second step is also completed. Now I will have to ensure that slave machine has all the prerequisites. I will be using my local machine as a slave machine, so that means everything is installed here. So we can directly go now to the step number 4. You can access the Jenkins via localhost 8080 with the port 8080, and you can see the starting page of landing page of Jenkins here. You'll have to give an username. My username is testtroop. Once you log in, then you have to go to my views, or you can also create a new job using create new item, under which you'll have to give a job name. I will give as run the Postman Collection. Then select a type of the project as a freestyle project. Click OK. Here you'll have to give a description to run Postman Collection. Then I want to restrict where this project to be run, and I have configured the Windows slave by name Windows 11 slave. Then I will have to say what is your source code management system. I will be using GitHub, which is based on Git. Then I'll have to give the repository name. The name of the repository, you can find it going to the code and copying this. Always use SSH. Copy this, give it here. Now it will give basically an error because it needs a proper credential to access that. I have already configured a credential. Once you give this error should go, and I will also specify the branch. By default it will be a master, but in case of Git repository it will be using main as a branch. So I'll have to replace master with main here. Then you can leave other sections as it is. Then you'll have to come down and add a build step. Okay, so I will be executing the Windows command, so I'll have to add the execute Windows batch command. So I have to go to command line, then I will have to copy paste this command. Then I can So this is my command, and after that I can basically save this, and again I can go back to configure. I can also add the post build action. Okay, in case of post build action, I want to add JUnit task that will help me to display the report in a proper format. So I'll be creating, as part of the Newman, I'll be creating the JUnit report. I want to basically publish this JUnit report in a proper format, and here it asks the path where exactly you can find the reports. I think the JUnit reports are generated under the folder called Newman. So I can give it as Newman slash star.xml. Retention for all the test. Remaining things I will keep it as it is. I am not going to change. Okay. So basically it basically asks the path where your the XML files can be found, right? In our case it is under Newman slash XML. The path is relative to the path of your repository. Okay. Then I will save. Then I will apply. Then I will save. My job is ready to run, but before that I have to go to I will have to go to dashboard. Then there is manage Jenkins, under which I have a note. If you see, this is where I want to run my test, but unfortunately this is offline. So let's click on this, and I am using the Windows, so I will be using this command to bring that slave online. Okay, so I'll have to basically go to the folder D work Jenkins, because this is the remote repository. While configuring the Jenkins slave, I have given this path, so I'll go to that path. I think this is a path, D work Jenkins. Then I'll bring the command line here, and then I will have to execute this command, java-jar agent.jar. I have already downloaded the agent.jar. If you don't have the agent.jar, then you can download using this particular command. Okay. Yes, it is connected now. Let's go back to our dashboard, and if you see manage Jenkins nodes, so this is online now. So now we can go back to our dashboard. Then I go back to my views, run Postman, then click on build now. The task is started. The execution is started now. Let us wait for some minutes. Execution is done and it is passed. Let us click here. Then you can go to console output. Under the console output, yeah, you can see the logs from the console output. You're trying to run the 4 requests, right? Yeah, this is how the data looks like. Basically it was printing in a table format. If you see, when it was running in the command line, it was giving a beautiful table like this, but yeah, Jenkins log is not showing that in a proper format. Okay, so but nevertheless our job is done, and let us go and see the report. If you see the report, it says that I have executed 7 tests here. Okay, so yeah, if I go to here again, and if I click the test result, which is at the same hierarchy at the console output, I can see the detailed report here. So basically it has executed 7 tests, all of them are passed. If I try to click inside, it will give me the detailed it will give me the detailed result. What are the 4 APIs that I have been using, right? The create user, get user node, and HTTP request in API. That is because I did not give a proper name to this. I have stored this as something like this. So what I can do is I can change the name as check option here. Then I will, this is saved now, right? Yeah, this is saved now. What I have to do is I have to again export at the same place. I want to replace it. Then what I will do, I will come back. Then I will copy this. Then I will paste this here. I will replace this. Then I will use git here, because this is my repository. If I put a git status, it says that there is a change. Then again I have to do git add. Then I have to use git commit. Then I have to use git push. Now the latest code base is gone to the latest code base has gone now to the git repository. Now what we will do is we will come back here, and if you command here, so there are two commits. Okay, there are two commits. One was earlier and one was just now. Now if you run the test, the name should change. It is done. Click on this #2, then come back to the test result, come back to the root. Yeah, it's still there, right? Yeah, this may be from the old. Okay, now if you come back to console log, I think how many tests it has got executed. Create user check option. Yes, 1, 2. Yes, 4 tests. 4, and yeah. So it's totally it is 7 tests only, but I think it was retaining the data from its previous run. That is why it is showing us. It is showing us the results of the old API as well. Okay. Yeah. Now let us go and wipe out the workspace. That may clear the test results. Let's go to the workspace and wipe out the current workspace. Give it as yes. And now let us try to run it again. Execution is complete. Now let us go and click here. That will bring out the console log as well as the test result. Go under root, and if you see here, now only we have 4 options. Okay, by wiping out the workspace, we can clear the previous history as well, right? That brings us to the end of this session. In this tutorial, we learned how to execute Postman Collection using Jenkins, and we have followed the following steps. The first one, export and execute locally. We have exported the Postman Collection and executed it locally using Newman. Pushing the collection into GitHub. We have created a GitHub repository and pushed the Postman Collection to the GitHub repository. Setting up the prerequisites ensured that slave machine had all the necessary prerequisites installed, including Node.js and Newman. The fourth one is creating a Jenkins job and configuring it to run the test. We have set up a Jenkins job to clone the Postman Collection from Git repository and execute it using the Newman. And we also configured the Jenkins the post plugin, the JUnit post plugin, to display the results of the test execution. I hope you enjoyed learning with me. If you find this video helpful, please support the channel by subscribing and turning on the notification so that you don't miss any new content. Stay tuned for more exciting videos, and thank you for watching.